As you know, um, Dr. Isigani Cruz is one of our very outstanding playwrights, multi-awarded. In fact, is what you call an honor roll awardee of the Palanca Playwrights. And he has had other credits, especially doing socially relevant plays, even during the time of martial law. Not everybody was brave enough to comment, but plays were being used to reflect on the situation, maybe covertly, but at least were able to touch conscience in order to reflect on the conditions that were then happening. Isagani, what do you say?
Well, thank you for that. But I'm always looking forward rather than back. The reason is there's still so much to do. Quite a lot to do for artists who are able to communicate, articulate the problems of the world. And it's our responsibility. We have the talent, so we've got to use it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the good book says.
Well, actually, if you look at this, the whole initiative of the Earth Savers with all of its partners like Chuchi Foundation, which has been very active on the rehabilitation work here in the Philippines, as well as the Climate Institute, which is based in Washington. And of course, these are the issues. At COP21 Paris, an official side event, decarbonization for defying disasters. You can see we will have inclusive education for SDGs. The issue, of course, is fighting poverty and pollution. You have hunger and homelessness. Actually, we're surrounded by some paintings that reflect on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Look up. Here it is. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals was just inaugurated by the Secretary General at the UN General Assembly just last September. And what have we done here in the Philippines to show the effectiveness of communication? We have out-of-school youth in a UNESCO Techno-Arts camp undertaken, and using digital arts to reflect on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. For instance, here, goal number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. So this is the reflection of some of the youth. End hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. What's very interesting in the process, Isagani, is the fusion of vulnerable groups with already those who have stronger experience and expertise in the matter. It's a matter of sharing. When we held the Techno Arts Camp, we were in fact in cooperation with the Seoul Institute of the Arts and of course our local artists. So here you have some of their reflections, and what you'd say the ones supervising and assisting in the creation and helping in the concepts is the caffeinated palette. And eventually we'll also be talking later about paintings done by persons with disabilities because it is a very special honor that UNESCO has given us the patronage to hold a commemorative event to mark the United Nations Day for Persons with Disabilities. And that's on the first week of December. And what is going to be very exciting is that Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary is going to be joined by some of our handicapable artists. And one of them will be joining us later to explain the excitement about what is going to be done to mark this day to call attention on the rights of persons with disabilities. Because, Isagani, I mean, we've worked with healing trauma, and you can see all the victims are, well, discombobulated. They're suicidal or they're catatonic after losing so many lives, so many homes destroyed, livelihood wasted. So it's wonderful that the writers have reflected this very strongly in their plays. And we hope that this opens up a whole core of plays on the subject matter. Diba?
Yeah,
It's,
and I'm particularly happy to see these paintings because the world really belongs to the young people.
Yeah.
It's going to be their world. I mean, we will disappear soon enough, right? But they will have to inherit this world that we ruined. And it's very good that they're very concerned and they're using the tools that they understand, digital art and photography of some kind. I
Yeah.
mean, look at the things they think. Look,
how they imagined it,
yeah, they
no?
imagine water and energy, and look
Yeah.
at how they know about solar energy and geothermal.
Yeah,
et
biomass,
cetera.
solar, wind, geothermal.
There's hope. There's
Yeah,
hope for the world.
water. So it's the way to communicate among their peers, isn't it? Because you can hear lectures forever, and it can enter one ear, go out the other, and you haven't really internalized it, and you're not aware of what is the action you're going to do and how to connect with everybody else and to arouse community participation.
And it's constructive. It's not only showing the problems, as you can see, but showing some solutions.
Yeah.
Like what exactly do you do? What kind of salt do you use? What kind of vegetables should you eat, etc. I mean, they know.
Yeah.
They know what the solutions are.
And right behind you, a very important issue for the Sustainable Development Goals is partnership, you know, understanding, dialogue, cooperation, so that we can end all of this conflict, this armed conflicts that
Well,
is really causing so much suffering. You know, we have ecological refugees and we have these refugees of armed conflict, and you can really feel the suffering of these people. And that may be, there. I think there was some entries dealing with
Oh, yes,
the refugee situation.
oh yes, yeah. Practically everything we associate with the issue, the playwrights were able to write about. But this, what you're talking about people working together, this seems very natural for the youth. They've got their Instagram and Facebook and
Yeah.
social media, and so they're always talking to each other, and not just to each other, the people they know, but a lot of people they
Yeah.
don't know. And there's a kind of what we call a spirit of the age among the young people, and I think that's why the world will continue. The earth will get over this thing,
Yeah.
and it will be their achievement to do that.
Well,
Which-
it's their
which I like,
future, yeah.
Which is good. It's good. That's
Well-
why I'm in education, because I think that's exactly
Right.
what we should be helping them with. We should help them find out what are the possibilities of that can be done, how they can learn, where they can get information and wisdom and so on, and then we leave them alone and they will solve the world's problems.
Well, education is the key, really, to unlocking the gridlock of poverty. And we're very glad that besides this youth, you will see eventually, or we'll be talking to handicapable artist who is part of twinning painting of persons with disabilities with coplay, with poetry. So it's a wonderful mix, and we've been having textula, as you know, over at, and there were textula, what you'd call sending Dalit, 4 lines and 8 syllables per line and all rhyming, and you'll be amazed at what has been gathered in this thing. We would be very happy for you to look at all of these poetry entries as well. We just had an awarding, and we'll be reporting that to you right after this conversation on playwrights. So from playwrights to poets to singers to dancers, we'll be talking about that after this literary underscoring of what can be done by writers, you know. How important is the pen as the weapon to fight all these social ills?
And we've seen in the entries that we received that theater today is not just dialogue, and setting and things like that, but they use multimedia.
Yeah, it's
They
mixed
use,
media. Yeah.
they use painting and music. There were some plays that had music. Theater is really kind of like putting together of all the arts that we know.
It's the meeting ground of all the arts. And it's a wonderful way to, how you say, gold or dig the gold mine in every person. And whether they are even handicapped, you'll be amazed how they can be handicapable. I mean, we have such a privileged time to talk to Dr. Isagani Cruz. He's not just teaching, he's administering, he's doing all kinds of heavy work, but I'm glad that he joined us so that he could share the process and the hope of how really, if every country animates the creative talents in order to help communicate problems, how to resolve them. As you said, some are having very good points of views about how to. Just look at President Obama. He focused on young engineers, scientists to try and provide us with salt water energy. So it's wonderful, and we hope it encourages people. And before we let you go, Dr. Cruz, maybe you may want to leave some thoughts and some suggestions for more creative activities to help us confront our social ills, to triumph over adversity.
Well, I hope that the policymakers who will be meeting in Paris will continue what the initiatives have been doing for quite a while, thanks to you and several other artists, to see culture as an instrument of solving the world's problems, making people aware of what we are like and where we should be going. So I hope they continue this and make it even more pervasive in the area of governance.
Well, we're very pleased that when we visited or when we attended the ITI board meeting, because the Philippines is in the Executive Council, we reiterated our proposal for lowering the decibel of confrontational dialogue or aggressive behavior at the West Philippine Sea or China Sea. And artists can bridge, the possible understanding and affinity that we must reaffirm, or solidarity for peace. And we were glad that the mayor and the vice mayor of Shanghai agreed and said they would get involved in this process. So from the Global Playwriting Contest, expect the music, theater, peace concert as a way to respond to armed conflict, not by force, but by art. We can win the war about poverty, about global warming, and we can be one community. We're going to be back just for a short while, and we will be reporting on what else is expected from Philippine artists or global artists that are getting together, and that will be with Nikki Pahati. Stay with us.